talk about regions. Africa, my favorite, if I had to pick, I would be East Africa in particular. Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania. If I see one and I like the description, without even tasting it, I'm probably going to end up buying it. Ethiopia tend to be a little bit smaller. They're almost always going to be an heirloom variety, which means they don't actually have a variety. They're just wild grown. That's what that typically means. They haven't been classified. That also means the beans are going to vary a lot in size, even after sorting, size and shape. But maybe the birthplace of coffee, I think Ethiopia wins. But the Yemen story is pretty cool. It's some guy on a donkey, and he went up on the mountain, and he ate the cherry, but then he had the bean. And he's like, oh, I'll fry that up or something. He roasted it, and then the donkey ate it, and then the donkey was the best donkey ever because it was from the caffeine, right? Yeah. That's the story, or something like that. That's a good story for Yemen. But notice that what I'm describing there, and this is going to vary, but floral. You don't usually think of floral, or berries, or citrus, or wine when you think of coffee. But I think it's there. Yeah. Kenya, fruity as well. Black currant, bright acidity. Those are some typical names. Why? It's elevation. It's going to be the variety. It's also going to be processing method. Rwanda and Burundi. These are relatively new because Rwanda went through a pretty nasty civil war. But the coffees have been amazing now that you can get them. And that will help their country too, quite a bit. Both Burundi and Rwanda are much higher elevation, and they're more volcanic soil. So that affects the soil composition and then gives it those kind of complexity. Tanzania, bright berry. Sometimes like Kenya, if I see a Tanzanian pea berry, that preparation, those small deformed beans, I almost always buy that if I can get one because the customers love it. So, Americas, not here, of course. California's tried. It's very expensive. You have to use greenhouses and climate control, and it's not really worth it. There's somebody doing it, and he's charging $50 a bag or something.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't ship this.
And it's not like amazing, right? Because you have to fake it. You have to fake the whole step. Yeah. Colombia, we talked about, right? And Brazil, those were the two big ones in that first wave. Oh, I started a topic and then I didn't finish it. Second wave coffee is, sorry, I got off the beaten path. I don't get distracted, squirrel. The second wave would be like your Starbucks, actually. That was the West Coast coffee scene, typically dark roasted. A lot of the coffee milk preparation drinks, bringing the Italian style to America. That was the second wave. And then third wave, and there's probably more waves now. Third wave is what we call the specialty coffee. That's the small independent roasters, the local coffee shops, not the commodity, even though Starbucks presents as specialty coffee, except they're actually just commodity coffee. They just have a really great marketing team. All right, yeah. Although I think that's probably lapsed now. Yes, hello. All right. Brazil, if you don't like the bright and the acidic not in terms of stomach acid, by the way, acidic on the palate, which is a different thing. I say acidic, that usually just means bright on the palate. But some people do want a mellower coffee, a softer on the palate. One of the coffees, I don't know if I brought a sample that we can try, but our Black Cloister, it's almost like it has a butter texture to it. That's how soft it is on the palate because it's the Central American blend that we put together. But chocolate, nuts, that kind of flavor with Brazil. Guatemala, very good coffee usually. Again, volcanic. That's also true for Indonesian coffees when we get to that. And then Costa Rica, they're the ones that have really innovated with this so-called honey process, where they, it's a combination. They'll actually ferment the coffee in tanks. And now there's all sorts of, I've had one actually last month. It was an anaerobic coffee where they intentionally had it they put it in a situation where it wasn't exposed to air to ferment, which is also interesting. So all sorts of new processing methods that people are trying, using tanks, using a combination of wet milling, dry milling, to try to just, find a niche, right? In a market, a market for their coffees. By the way, blends versus the specialties single origin, we offer both. The blends are popular amongst people who don't want any kind of variation in their life. Stable, predictable, Folgers kind of people.
My mom was a Folgers.
She always knew what the coffee was going to taste like.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep,
exactly.
every day.
She made it the same way every day.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So there is that. We have, I think, 8 blends, and they're all very different, but they all pretty stable throughout the year. I mean, they're a blend, so there can be a little variation, but not that much. On the other hand, the single origin can be wildly variant, and I do have probably more customers actually that prefer just the wild and crazy. Like, give me whatever, and I'll just try it. Then we have a subscription product for that. So they just get whatever I feel like that month, and they get to say yes or no.
Oh, so you have like a coffee of the month?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of them are available subscription. And then Asia. All right. Indonesia, India, Yemen, we talked about before. I mean, that's Arabia, but that's close enough. The Asian coffees are all very volcanic, especially like a Sumatra or just an Indonesian coffee. They are going to have a lot of mineral flavor actually in the cup, that's why I think people tend to roast them darker to try to complement the kind of almost strident character to the coffee. It has that really, it's more aggressive. It's not as delicate or floral or light on the palate. So they tend to be lower elevation too, but they try to get as high as they can. This is not always true, but it's typically true. All right. Have we covered all the areas?
How about Australia? Because I think they don't have coffee?
Well, let's look at our map. Thank you very much.
It's at the top.
It's at the top, but it's not elevated.
I thought there was this one called the Blue Dog.
There might be.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe along the coast, maybe, but it's going to be low elevation, which doesn't work well with coffee, the coffee plant.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So you have the soil composition we talked about. This is all true with wine, as we said, but also true with coffee. Shade cover. So shade grown, you'll sometimes see marketed. The rainfall, of course, all the other climate stuff. That all matters. And that's why, even if I've had some coffees I've gotten like 3 or 4 years. Not in a row, just over a span of time. The tasting notes aren't the same. The coffees don't perform the same. Yeah. And as of late, people have sometimes asked for what we affectionately used to call blueberry bombs. Ethiopia and Kenya would have just strong blueberry flavor. But this was 10, 12 years ago, and nobody's been able to replicate it since. So it was just all the factors, and it was just like amazing. Like, you wouldn't think, like, you thought it was flavored with like some kind of chemical blueberry, except it didn't taste chemically at all. It was blueberry. So no such luck now. All right, processing methods. We talked about many of these already. I get ahead of myself, as of course you do. Dry in the sun, wet. Again, you use a machine before you ferment it in tanks. Pulped, natural. It's depulped and then dried with some of the fruit still on the cherry. It's, again, a variant. Honey, again, we talked about some of the fruits left on, and then it ferments with some of the fruit. And again, you can use tanks for that. Low acid, Indonesia, that's a Indonesian coffee. Actually, all of the coffee from East Asia. Would that be East Asia? Yeah, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Sumatra. They have to be really cautious with molding because it's just so wet. Yeah, and it's lower elevation, so it's not quite as dry for that reason too. All right. Again, most of the processing choices are economic. The more expensive processing is going to be limited to your better coffee. So do you do the more, less predictable processing method, or do you just wet process because you know you're going to get a good result, likely? And then the other problem is you don't really know until after you've processed it, and then you roast it and cup it at the processing and decide what quality it is. And then that's going to determine what they get paid for. So the importers are actually going overseas and tasting them at origin before they are put in the carton. Yeah, because it'll be 3 months in a boat. So you want to taste it before you ship it all the way here, and you've already committed to paying for it. So those all get graded, just like wines. You have point scales, and there's other grading schemes too. That all gets graded at the processing plant, and then that determines whether it's going to get into a container or it's going to go to market and just be dumped into all the Kenyan coffee. So you try to get the most value you can as a farmer, of course, right? But then how risky can you be with your process?